طيب بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Before we go back to the book, a few things that I would like to share with you all bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And that is one of the most important things for a student of knowledge is to build a proper library. It's to build a proper library. And obviously, living in the modern age in 2019, we have the virtual library, electronic books, scanned books, kutub musawwara, PDF. And we have different programs. We have مثلا al-Maktab al-Shamila, for example. So when it comes to building a library, its importance, its necessity, we also have to speak about how to build the library. What's the proper way of doing it? The proper way of buying books and the proper way of downloading books and having books on your tablet or your computer in your home, etc. From the different techniques and methods or the different categories is the concept of genre, al-qism, and there's aqsam of the maktaba. And from those categories or those genres is that which is called kutubu adabi talab al-ilm, or kutub adab al-talab, the books that talk about the etiquettes of seeking knowledge, the books that speak about the virtue of seeking knowledge, the books that tell you the general and specific rules, the do's and the don'ts of how to be a successful student of knowledge and how to be a professional student of knowledge and how to be a systematic student of knowledge and also how to be a scholar, how to move on, how to graduate, how to level up. The ulama of Islam, when they benefited, when they learned, when Allah had blessed them with what He had blessed them with, they didn't just hoard the knowledge. They didn't just, quote unquote, as we say in America, hog the knowledge. They didn't keep it to themselves. They knew the danger of kitmanul ilm, of hiding knowledge. So what they did was, they wrote down their experiences. They wrote down their experiences. And they wrote down mistakes and errors that many people fell into. And they wrote down what they felt from the Quran and from the Sunnah and from the ijma' and from the athar of the Sahaba and their disciples about the proper way of seeking knowledge and about the excellence and the merit of seeking ilm. And that is why we have these books. So you have kutub al-tafsir or tafasir. That's a genre. What is the first book of tafsir I should buy? Is it Tabari? Is it Ibn Kathir? Is it Sa'di? Is it Fath al-Qadir? Is it التفسير الميسر إلى آخره, الجلالين, etc. And how many books of tafsir should I buy? Should I buy all of them or just the ones that I need? And should I focus on the books of tafsir along with buying books of hadith at the same time, or just focus on kutub tafsir first and foremost? Kutub al-hadith. What books of hadith should I buy first? Sahih Bukhari, Muwatta Malik, Bulugh al-Maram, Nawawi, etc. Should I buy the shuruh, the explanation of those hadiths at the same time? Fath al-Bari, Minhaj, At-Tamheed, Al-Istidhkar, Tarh al-Tathrib, Nail al-Awtar, ila akhirih. Kutub al-Fiqh. What books of fiqh should I buy and download and put on my tablet or my computer? All of them? Or only the madhab that I plan on studying? Only the madhab that I plan on teaching? Or only the comparative fiqh that I like to deal with? I don't study a madhab, I like to do comparative, one may say. And I'm only going to buy the kutub al-fiqh al-muqarran. Alright? How many books of hadith should you buy? وهكذا. Kutub al-aqidah. Buy all of them or only some of them? Those that you need, those that you're going to study, those that are taught, which books to buy, etc. What's important is there's history, there's seerah, there's lugha, there's Kutub al-Sunan, there's this, is that. وَمِن تِلْكُمُ الْأَقْسَامِ, and from those categories and sections of your library, no matter how big or small, is the section of Adab al-Talab. It's how to study the right way. And the excellence of studying, and the things that you must avoid, and the things that you must do. The things which are ruinous to your career as a talib al-ilm. Ruinous. If you do them, forget about it. And the things that you have to do in order to be a real and successful student of knowledge, man or woman, brother or sister. So therefore, there is a genre, there's a qism in the maktaba, al-Maktabatul Islamiyya, which is on seeking ilm. So these books you should buy physically if you have the money, or if you have the space. And if you can't buy them physically, you don't have the money, or as some of the brothers in the UK, when we went there, they were complaining about space. They said that the UK is crowded and your house is small, and you really don't have space for your library like that. One of the problems that the brothers in Medina face when they go back to the UK is they buy loads of books and they go back to Birmingham or London and there's no space to put the books. And you have to keep them in storage and the books collect dust. And we all know what happens to books when they collect dust. Books cry. They cry and they become sad. And they yearn for hands to pick them up, to touch them. Books like to be touched. Books like to be used and opened. Books become sad and lonely when you just leave them on the shelf. Let alone leave them in boxes. Let alone leave them in the warehouse and the storehouse. Only Allah knows. It's nothing strange. Allah spoke to the pen. The pen spoke to Allah. Mada aktub. What shall I write down? Books, they want to be picked up and used. They want to be what? Picked up and used. So therefore, I don't have the ability to buy a lot of books. I don't have the money. I come from a poor country. Or I have to spend my money on other things. Or I have the money but I don't have the space. And or I have the books and I also want to have the PDF of the book too. Or the audio book or the electronic book, etc. So what are the books of Adab Talab al-Ilm that you must or should and must have in your library as a separate section? As far as if you just study knowledge on the side, that's one thing. You just come to some lectures, that's one thing. You dip and you dab, one thing. But if you're a self-respecting talib al-ilm, and what you're trying to establish a center and a community and a masjid, you're trying to establish a mahad, you're trying to establish ilm in your country, you have to have a proper library. A proper library. And there is no respected and reputed and credited university except that it has a real serious library. A serious library. And that serious library has to come through knowledge and experience and money and dedication. People who know what books to buy, know where to buy the books, people who are willing, capable to buy those books and to organize those books. And most importantly, people whose hands love to touch the books and the books love for their hands to touch them. Everyone understand this? So with that being said, Bidnai Ta'ala, what are some of the most important books, or not most important, but what are the books that every student of knowledge must have in his library with regards to this genre? We know that seeking ilm is based off of the verses in the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. But what are the books that have gathered these ayat and explained these ayat? What are the books that have gathered these ahadith and explained them and categorized them and broke them down? What are the books that deal with, like we said, فِيمَا أَنْشَدُوهُ, the poetry, وَهَكَذَا, and the do's and the don'ts, the refined system from the time of the Prophet to this day, in which the people refined the science of seeking ilm. Who can tell me a book that every self-respecting student has to have in his library? By hands. By the razor in the right hand, Abdul Qawi. Sahih al-Bukhari. There's no doubt about that. Kitabul Ilm. However, the specific books just on the topic, but no doubt Sahih al-Bukhari that's a book we quote from, our favorite book. But what are the specific books just to the genre? Because the genre of Sahih Bukhari would be Kutub Sunan or Dawaween Sunnah. Abdul Qawi. It's on your head. I'll come back to you. We raise the right hand, Abu Sa'id, tell Khidr. Never the what? Never the left hand. It's disrespect to the teacher to raise the left hand. Now you gotta wait. What's a book that every serious student of knowledge has to have? Fadl akhi. Hilyat Talib al-Ilm by Shaykh Bakr Abu Zayd of the 20th century. Not necessarily. Beautiful book, important book, no doubt, but it's not an absolute what? Must. It's not an absolute must. I'm going to come back to you. Think again. Fadl, Safwan. Al-Adab al-Mufrad. It's min Kutub al-Sunan. That's a book of hadith, like Bukhari. Fadl, Fatah. La, Kitab al-Tawheed is from Kutub al-Aqaid. It's a Kutub al-Aqidah. Al-Duqawi. Kitab al-Ilm of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen. Excellent book, but it's a modern book. It's not an absolute must. It's not durura to have that book. Fadl ya akhi. I didn't hear what he said. La, of course we mentioned that. We mentioned that. That's the asl of talab al-ilm. No question about that. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ Allah taught Adam all the names. But that's not of the genre. Khidr. Zad al-Ma'ad min Kutub al-Sirah. That's a book of Sirah. That's a book of Sirah. Fadl ya akhi. Ta'lim al-ilm. Laysa dururatan. It's not absolute must. One of the sisters. We know that the sisters have the answers if the brothers don't, right? We know that, right? A book that you must have in your library being a self-respecting student of knowledge. Fadl ya akhi. La, we said that already. The Quran, of course, Kitabun Aziz, but that's not min kutub that are mufrada. Nafis. La, that's Kutub Sunan. That's the book of Hadith. Fadl. La, that's a good book of Ibn Jawzi. That's not it. Did you look at your phone, Hanif? Right now, we don't want Sheikh Google, Sheikh Google is not. We don't accept him right now. Fadl. At-Tibyan fi Adabi Hamalat al-Quran. Very close. Very, very close. Borderline, yes, but not from the original absolute musts, the absolute classics. But very, very, very close. Jazakallah khair. Very good. That was much better than all the answers of the brothers. Tayyib, come again. Keep thinking. La Nafisi. Nope. La. Nope. For that is knowledge. La. That's modern. Written by a miskeen person. What else is there? No one, not even one book. Fadl, Sheikh. He says a book by al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, and it starts off as al-Jami'. So far that was the closest answer. The closest answer. The closest answer, and he's almost there. Come on, Sheikh. You gotta represent America. US. Some tribalism, akhi. Tfaddal. As she said, إعلام الموقعين جزاك الله خيرا. لا هذا من كتب الأصول تقريبا. كتب مقاصد كتب الأصول. جزاك الله خيرا. لا, something else. So he said al-Jami'. Anybody know the rest of the name? Khadir. La, close, good, but not an absolute must, and that's not the book he's talking about. Anybody got a clue yet? Tfaddali. Jami' Ulum al-Hikam? That's what she said? Jami' Ulum? La, min Kutub al-Shuruh. That's explanation of 40 hadith. Al-Jami' li akhlaq al-Rawi wa adab al-Sami'. Al-Jami' li akhlaq al-Rawi wa adab al-Sami'. In Arabic, Al-Jami' li akhlaq al-Rawi wa adab al-Sami'. Obviously we know the books of the ulama of the past, they rhymed, they were rhythmic, and it was a witty twist to the title. Al-Jami' li akhlaq al-Rawi wa adab al-Sami'. There's another, which is an absolute must to have in your library, starting off with the original classics, which is what? Fadl. La, if you're reading from the phone, no. That's online. Online, طيب. جزاك الله خيرا. جامع بيان العلم وفضله. جامع بيان العلم وفضله. By who? From online. No one say anything. Who's the author of that book? Who's the author of the book? Ibn Abdul Barr. Ahsant. Ibn Abdul Barr. Who died in what century? Not the exact date, just the century. The 5th century. Tayyib. A third book, which is considered an absolute must, one of the earliest classics, is what? Adab Talib al-Hadith? Al-Rihla fi Talib al-Hadith. Tayyib. By who? Khatib al-Baghdadi. Ahsanta. Ahsant. Traveling, one of the most important aspects of seeking knowledge. There's a book that's earlier in order than all of these books, which is what? Solid, accepted classic. Come on, sisters, you're supposed to know this stuff. I'm so sorry. I can't hear. I don't want you. If you can write it down or pass it up to another sister, I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear. What did she say? Huh? Ihya Ulumuddin. As a great book, a beneficial book, not a perfect book, but a good book. But no, that's not it. And he was later on. How about Kitabul Ilm by Al-Hafiz Zuhair ibn Harb, Abu Khaythama al-Nasai, which we had the sharh on the channel. He died in the 3rd century. Mutaqaddim jiddan. Kitabul Ilm. Zuhair ibn Harb al-Nasai, Abu Khaythama. Another book which is an absolute classic and that's needed is Akhlaqul Ulama. Akhlaqul Ulama by Al-Ajurri rahimahullah ta'ala. Very early death. Akhlaqul Ulama. Akhlaqul Ulama. And then there's Al-Faqih wal-Mutafaqih by Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi as well. An absolute must to have in the library. Now leave the 4th century, 3rd century. Let's leave that generation and let's move on. The 5th century. Let's move to the 7th, 8th century. The medieval times. The classic considered to nowadays, but not as classic as 3rd century or 4th century. Such as what? Huh? La. Ibn Jawzi is a good book, but that's not an absolute staple classic. Abadan. تذكرة السامع والمتكلم في آداب العالم والمتعلم of Ibn Jama'ah rahimahullah ta'ala. Absolute classic of that generation. تذكرة السامع والمتكلم. تذكرة السامع والمتكلم. Now let's jump ahead now to the modern age of Abdul Qawi. Kitab al-Ilm of Shaykh Uthaymeen. Something else. How about? That's good, but not as good as these other ones. All right, tell you, everyone get the point? Now I'm going to read some titles to you and show you some of these books. Insha'Allah ta'ala. So first and foremost is it says Kitabul Ilm. This is a PDF. I don't have my library here. I can't travel with it on the airplane to actually show you. Kitabul Ilm. And the author, it says Al-Hafiz Abi Khaythama Zuhair ibn Harb al-Nasai. And he died 234. That's extremely early. Way before Khatib Baghdadi, Ibn Hajar, Ibn Uthaymeen. He's in the 3rd century and he wrote a book on ilm. That means a lot. And an older, more ancient book means a lot. Alright? So this is a book that you should have. It's a small book. You should have in your library. Moving forward. This book is called Akhlaqul Ulama li Abi Bakr Muhammad Ibn al-Husayn Ibn Abdullah al-Ajurri. And it says here that he died al-Mutawaffa sanat 360 Hijriya. He died 360. He died in the 4th century. That was before Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi. It's not an absolute classic list. Good book, beneficial book, so on and so forth, but not in this field, in this class, this genre. You know what I'm saying? It's different levels. Akhlaq al-Ulama of al-Ajurri. You gotta have this, you gotta study this, you gotta read this book. Moving forward, we're in the 4th century now. We're still before Khatib Baghdadi. Another one, very important. Let's jump to Khatib Baghdadi. Sharafu Ashab al-Hadith. Sharafu Ashab al-Hadith. Sharafu Ashab al-Hadith by Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi. And he died in the 5th century. And after that, a second book that he wrote is called Nasihatu Ahl al-Hadith, in which he gave advice to the people of Hadith. Extremely important book for any self-respecting Hadith disciple. Moving forward. This one is called, what was mentioned by our brother, Al-Jami' li Akhlaq al-Rawi wa Adab al-Sami'. Sorry, I don't have the cover picture of the print of the book. You can see the color, what it looks like. Al-Muhim, this is the print. Al-Jami' li Akhlaq al-Rawi, which is in 2 volumes that we mentioned. Khatib has another very important book that was mentioned as well, which says Al-Rihlatu fi Talab al-Hadith, which has been translated into English. And we've reviewed and critiqued the translation on the channel as well, which we've studied the good and the bad of the translation. Al-Rihlatu fi Talab al-Hadith, Khatib Baghdadi, something that you should have in your library. Another very important book, which has also been translated, Iqtida' al-Ilm al-Amal. Iqtida'u al-Ilmi al-Amalu. Iqtida'u al-Ilm al-Amal. The requirement of knowledge is action. The requirement of knowledge is what? Is action. And that's by Khatib al-Baghdadi, rahimahullah. Moving forward. Another very important book, must have, must read for a student of knowledge, is Al-Faqih wal-Mutafaqih by Khatib al-Baghdadi. You call yourself a student of knowledge, of usul al-fiqh, this and that. You can't call yourself that if you haven't read this book, if you haven't studied this book. Al-Faqih wal-Mutafaqih by Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi. Look how rich Khatib's legacy was. He left a lot behind for us. Moving forward. And there are many other books of Khatib Baghdadi. Moving forward. Let's go to another very, very important book. This isn't the cover of the book, sorry. Jami' Bayan al-Ilm wa Fadlihi of Ibn Abdul Barr, Al-Qurtubi, Al-Namari. And perhaps this is the what? The mothership. If you had to pick one book, you could say it's this. Can't say it again, I said it too much, Ashiq. Jami'u Bayan al-Ilm wa Fadlihi. Without alif lam, wa Fadlihi. Wa Fadlihi. Jami' Bayan al-Ilmi wa Fadlihi. Bidun al. Wa Fadlihi. By Ibn Abdul Barr. A tremendous book. Well, alhamdulillah, we've done many classes on this. We just came back from Canada. We were reading from this and explaining this. Moving forward. See what else I'd like to share with you guys. Another very important book would be Bayanu Fadli Ilm al-Salaf ala Ilm al-Khalaf. Bayanu Fadli Ilm al-Salaf ala Ilm al-Khalaf. And this is by Ibn Rajab, rahimahullah. Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, who died in the 8th century. The 8th century. One of the best books, extremely important for today and what's going on today. Alhamdulillah, we have a sharh of this book on the channel, from cover to cover, full explanation of the book. Also, another very important book of Ibn Rajab is called Sharh Hadith Ma Dhi'bani Ja'i'an. Explanation of the hadith about the 2 hungry wolves. Explanation of the hadith about the 2 hungry wolves. The Prophet, he said, مَا ذِئْبَانِ جَائِعَانِ بِأَفْسَدَ. He says, 2 hungry wolves sent upon a patch of unsuspecting sheep won't cause as much harm min hirsil mar'i, from a man's desire and craving for wealth and status. Wealth and status and desiring the two will destroy one's deen faster than 2 hungry wolves will destroy sheep. A tremendous book, and it's also been translated many years ago, about the evil of craving wealth and status and how it will destroy your ilm and your deen. Very, very important book about Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, rahimahullah ta'ala. The sister was kind enough to mention At-Tibyan fi Adabi Hamalat al-Quran. An-Nawawi from the 7th century, before Ibn Rajab. Tremendous book about learning the Quran and learning ilm in general. And it's in English as well. Learning the Quran and learning what? Other than the Quran. Other than the Quran. Tayyib, moving forward. Adab al-Alim wal-Muta'allim, of course, of Nawawi, we're explaining that now. Tadhkirat al-Sami' wal-Mutakallim of Ibn al-Jama'ah, of course we mentioned that as well. Here's a book here, which is called Zaghalul Ilm. Not as popular, very underrated. Zaghalul Ilm by al-Dhahabi, rahimahullah. Al-Hafidh al-Dhahabi. Al-Hafidh al-Dhahabi of the 8th century. Very important book. Not necessarily a must-have, but very important. Now let's move forward. Let's move forward, guys. A summarized version of Ibn Abdul Barr's book is called Sahih Jami' Bayan al-Ilm Fadlihi, which we explained before. We don't think that the author of this book should have made it with that title. The Sahih version, meaning that the original one is Da'if. It was Ahsan lo qala muhadhab, Tahdhib. تهذيب جامع بيان المفضلين. ويذكر في المقدمة أن من منهج التهذيب أنه يحذف ما يراه هو ضعيفا. يحذف الأحاديث والآثار التي تم الحكم عليها بالضعف. هذا يكون أليق وأقرب إلى الأدب. عرفت كيف؟ الأحاديث التي تم عليه الحكم بالضعف حذفتها. منهجي في الاختصار، منهجي في التهذيب، حذفت كذا، حذفت المكرر كذا كذا، وحذفت الآثار التي تم الحكم عليها بالضعف. أنتم معنا ولا لا؟ هذا يكون أحسن. طيب, now let's move on to the modern day. One of the most important books, one of the best books written of the current era is a book called An-Nubadh fi Adab Talab al-Ilm. An-Nubadh. An-Nubadh. Noon Ba'dhal. An-Nubadh fi Adab Talab al-Ilm. The author of the book clearly says, Ta'lif Hamad ibn Ibrahim al-Uthman, Shaykh Abu Anas of Kuwait. This, one may say, if it's not the absolute best book, it's definitely fighting for the top position. 1 or 2 or top 3 for sure. Of all books written of the 20th and 21st century on Adab al-Ilm, it's one of the sharpest books you'll come across. Tremendous, tremendous book. I wasn't fortunate enough to have met the author, but some of his students were my classmates in Medina. Tremendous book. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Another very important book of the modern era. One of the best books that's fighting for the top slot is a book called Ma'alim fi Tariqi Talab al-Ilm. Ma'alim fi Tariq Talab al-Ilm. Milestones on the road of seeking knowledge. Ma'alim. The author of the book, it says, Ta'lif Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah as-Sadhan. Shaykh Abdul Aziz as-Sadhan is a tremendous book. La quwwata illa billah. Full of fawaid, stories, all types of jewels and gems which will make your eyes dance from cover to cover. Tremendous book to have. Also, there's a summary of this book. Ya Talib al-Ilm, O student of knowledge. Well, alhamdulillah, we've explained it on the channel in full. Tremendous book. A must have of the modern classics. Abdul Qawi mentioned Kitab al-Ilm of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah ta'ala. Then, of course, we have Al-Hilya fi Adab Talib al-Ilm, Shaykh Bakr Abu Zayd. And it's another very important book, guys, of Shaykh Bakr Abu Zayd, which is called, pull it up for you right now. Alhamdulillah, we did classes from this as well. Adabu Talib al-Hadith. آداب طالب الحديث من الجامع للخطيب. And this book here is a summary, or not a summary, but there's points taken out of Al-Jami' li Akhlaq al-Rawi by Shaykh Abu Zayd. Tremendous book that doesn't get enough attention, very underrated and neglected. Tremendous book to have in your library. Adab Talib al-Hadith. Alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed us to make commentary on this, walillah alhamd, in one of the trips to Toronto. Another very important book, alhamdulillah, we finished it from cover to cover. One of the most important is Awaiq al-Talab. Awaiq al-Talab. Some people translate this in English, obstacles in the path of seeking knowledge. Maybe obstacles we translate to mean pitfalls. Pitfalls. An obstacle could slow you down. Maybe stop you, but at least slow you down. But a pitfall, once you fall into it, khalas. It's a difference. Your tires are now spiked. It's not an obstacle in which you make a, you make a turn. No. A detour. And this book is by, it says here, Abdul Salam Ibn Barjas Ibn Nasir al-Abdul Karim. Shaykh Abdul Salam Barjas, rahimahullah, he died. It's a modern day book, a current book, and it's one of the best books of the modern era. And this book, he's not telling you the things to do, but he's telling the things that you gotta stay away from. And obviously there's always the opposite. You learn the good from the bad, and you learn the bad from learning what's good. Very important book to have and to study. Moving forward. Khalas. That's more than enough for now. More than enough for now. That's more than enough. Khalas. That's enough. Alright, let's get back to our class, shall we, Khidr? Ashir. The top book out of all the books I mentioned, that's difficult. You can't say who's the best boxer in the history of boxing. You have to pick an era. Of the old school, this one. Of the middle school, that one. Of the new school, you have to pick an era. The best of the classic era, the best of the modern era, the best of the medieval era. You have to pick an era. You gotta single it out or narrow it down. Now, khairan inshallah. So if you singled it out, then perhaps I will give you my opinion what I thought was the best of the era. And there are many other books here on this tablet, and many other books that aren't on this tablet. I've shown you more than enough. Make sure that you buy those books when you go to make Hajj, or you go to make Umrah, or your cousin or your brother goes to make Hajj and Umrah. Tell them, give them the list, bring me these books back. And if you can't find the book, then make sure you at least download the PDF. Are we clear on this or not? Khairan inshallah. Let's get back to our book. What time is the adhan? In 10 minutes. 2 minutes? Tayyib. Alright, we'll stop here. And after Salat al-Isha, we'll go back to the book. Bidnillahi ta'ala. Jazakum Allahu khairan.